hallelujah, giving the hallelujah, giving the highest praise, hallelujah, giving the highest praise, hallelujah, giving the highest praise. In the morning when I wake up, in the night when I wake up, I will lift up my voice to heaven and give you the highest praise. Hallelujah to my King, hallelujah to my Father, hallelujah to my Jesus. I bow before the throne when I look at all the wonder and I see all the creation, the beauty of the universe. You never, never change. You never, never lie. You never, never change. You never, never change. Hallelujah to my Jesus. Hallelujah. 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 Giving, hallelujah, giving the highest praise, hallelujah, giving the highest praise, hallelujah, giving the highest praise.
Hey, I'm the friend, Jehovah. Come and worship Jehovah. He deserves the praise. Come the praise. He deserves everything. Oh, the worshiping. Oh, he gave me life. I will praise his name. I'm here to praise my God, oh, because he gave me life. Come celebrate. Come jubilate. Come and worship him. He deserves the praise. Hallelujah. Giving the higher praise. Hallelujah. Giving the higher praise.
Hallelujah. Giving, hallelujah. Giving the highest praise. Hallelujah. Giving the highest praise. Yeah. Hallelujah. Giving the highest praise. Ooh, hallelujah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Hallelujah. 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 Hallelujah to my Jesus. Hey, hallelujah.
Together for the Lord, and let your enemy grieve about it. Let the devil know we have a mighty God and a consuming fire. My guys, my warrior, I'm a leader.
Warrior, I'm a leader.
Oh,
Warrior, I'm a leader.
my guys, my warrior, I'm a hero.
Warrior, I'm a leader.
We serve a mighty God.
Warrior, I'm a leader.
My guys, my warrior, I'm a hero.
Warrior, I'm a leader.
Jesus, you are my God.
Warrior, I'm a leader.
My guys, my warrior, I'm a winner.
Warrior, I'm a leader.
He's still before me. He's still behind me. He's moving everywhere. My God, my protector. No way they shall gather. 7 ways they shall scatter. My enemy will fall on my feet. That's right. My God has lifted me higher. My God is my warrior, I'm a leader. Oh, my God is my warrior, I'm a hero. Warrior, 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 warrior. My God is my warrior, I'm a winner. Jesus, you my God. My God is my warrior, I'm a hero. Oh, winner, winner, winner. Winner, winner, winner. Winner, winner, winner. You are a winner. I am a winner. Winner, winner, winner. from my time, but understand that I am more than a conqueror. I am untouchable. I am unremovable. I am unshakable and undefeatable. Moto, 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 Holy Ghost moto, 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 Holy Ghost fire, moto, 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 Holy Ghost moto, 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 moto. Hey. Moto be fire. Are you ready to declare and decree that? Are you ready to go? Come on. To the right, moto, to the left, moto, 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 to the front, moto, to the back, moto, 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 Holy Ghost moto, 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 jump, jump, moto, 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 sing, sing, moto, 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 tap, tap, moto, 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 dance, dance, moto, hey, my guys, my warrior, I'm a leader. Warrior, warrior, warrior. My guys, my warrior, I'm a hero. Hey, my guys, my warrior, I'm a winner. I got my Jesus. He's my hero. He gave me victory. My guys, my warrior, I'm a winner.
All right, good evening and welcome to all of our viewers and listeners across the globe. Thank you for joining us here. We want to say happy Valentine Day. What is day? How does it come about? Who is the creation of this day? Well, there's everything. There's an origin to everything. But nevertheless, we want to say to all our viewers and many listeners, wherever you are on planet Earth, here in the USA, in Liberia, to Europe, wherever you might be, in Baghdad, which of course is also part of the world. We want to say good morning, good evening, and welcome. This is your informative news magazine. Freedom Watch, as usual, we're going to have some folks here this evening to keep the Valentine Day rolling. What did you do today? How was it? So we want to be having a conversation, of course. Liberia is no exception to the talking point, and my folks are going to be joining me here. Sadly, in the West African state of the Guinea, of the Republic of Guinea, that's neighboring Guinea. According to Al Jazeera and other major news network, there is an outbreak of Ebola virus. In fact, according to news right before me, I'm looking at here, three persons reported a death as the result of the Ebola. That is right next to Liberia, Guinea. So that is alarming. We must be concerned. The president of the Republic of Liberia, His Excellency George Mano Weah, according to the executive mansion release, has issued a surveillance already to keep track of the pandemic. And we must all be concerned why this ugly COVID-19 20s roaming and controlling people's lives. Ebola is in the making, and we must be concerned because it's right next to Liberia. So it is obvious that we should be concerned. I'm happy that the government is coming up with a statement. It suggests that some sort of proactive measures or actions by health workers and health practitioners will be put in place, but that's a very, very serious concern. We want to welcome you. We say happy Valentine Day. How was your Valentine Day? Some people still going on celebrating. In keeping with the traditions, this is what I jump into this rare, like a Ghana man this evening. Yeah, we want to keep the traditions rare. We want to welcome you. Thank you so much for joining us. My guys going to be joining me here, and we're going to be having a conversation. Of course, when LPR is on, part of our conversations is more political, a wide range of issues. We see the president of the Republic of Liberia is on a nationwide tour. Oh, after 3 years, somebody says, yes, better late than never. Okay, we want to see what happens. What factor in that is that the last result prompted the president? Was his actions deliberate? Is just timely?
we're going to be having this conversation. So you visited the Battleground, Bone County already, and it seems there's some sort of good news from there. So we're going to see how it looks like. We're going to ask our participant, of course, you, our audience. You also going to form part of the conversation to tell us, to share your experience, the Valentine and some of the news making headlines in Liberia. These and many more. I am Afonso Z, and so right here from the New England Bureau of the Liberia Public Radio. Stay tuned. Okay. Thank you. The night gone far. I congratulate. Happy Valentine Day. Today is 8:12 Eastern Standard Time, right here from the New England Bureau of the Liberia Public Radio and Lpr-Tv. My guests, analysts, pundits, contributors, they are all standing by. Going to be bringing them in here very shortly. So, this day has been widely, for the most part, in most parts of the world, it's been widely celebrated as a Valentine Day. And believe me, if you don't do anything for your people, then we're in big trouble. Should they, the ladies, should they give us Valentine, or are we supposed to be the one to do it? I'm going to be asking my analysts here the interpretation, how they understand Valentine to be and why it is. Am I understanding the origin of this? I came from these Catholic guys. So why are they always bringing these things around here? Yeah, it becomes a tradition. But this is what's a Liberia Public Radio to date. Probably you might not be there, but it's one lady, two ladies are celebrated. See that as a celebration. This is the creations of station manager Nathaniel Crypoor. This guy for all sort of stuff. Let me go back today, and my guys are standing back. I want to be breaking in Professor Zawlo, Amos George, and of course, we want to bring. He's not a new person in this business. Very young, progressive Liberians involved in multitudes of roles. But we want to introduce him in a special way. But let's have this Valentine fun.
Papa Morel, l'enfant des Aïeux.
me bring my guys here. That's I believe those groups from Totan Grand J. I think that something told people here. But let's see here. We want to say happy Valentine Day to all of our folks. So let's get the conversation going here. Very seen, that's our regular contributor here who helps to impact knowledge here at Liberia Public Radio. Of course, Professor ACC Labozawolot is all there deck up, doing some, what sort of equation is that? Is that quadratic or what?
No,
Okay.
no.
Very involving a lot of multitudes of road. And of course, our own man Amos Joy from I don't know what's going to be a reaction to the president visited his place. And we're going to be going to Canada with our own guy. He's going to be providing expertise, very young, talented, involves in multitudes of roles, helping to build lives, bridges. I'm not sure what part of any political party, but in past conversation, he's not very objective. Let me bring in to Mr. Leo Johnson. He's going to be joining us here. Folks, Professor Zawlot, Amos George, we're going to be having Mr. Johnson here and that as long time is available. Going to serve as a regular contributor of the Liberia Public Radio. We are wholeheartedly pleased to have you yet. He's been on the network. His conversation is always over the bar. Good. Mr. Johnson, good evening and welcome. Let me just give you the opportunity to say a word and I will go back to my guys. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Sol, and good evening to Mr. George and Professor Zawlo as well. Good to see everybody and happy Valentine. I really I'm not a big fan of it, but because everybody gets in a frenzy, so we all get in a frenzy. But yeah, but thank you for having me once again.
Okay, let's see here. So let's start with the professor. Professor, Valentine Day, we're going to get to our main conversation of the evening. What are you thinking about? What did you do today?
What did I do today? I had a rest. I had some prayers with my family. I had to do some instruction. A little bit of writing. So that's what I did today. Obviously, I had to show some care to my wife.
Say it again?
So obviously, I had to show some care to my wife.
Yeah, okay. That's
I do every day.
It's every day. You don't need a whiff of Valentine, February 14 and all of that.
No.
So, yeah, any special gift? I'll try to poke into some stuff here.
I think you want to carry on your show so that I'm not disconnected. I will answer that question.
Okay. I got you right. So all in all, the Valentine was awesome. Pa George.
Well,
what's going on with your audio? There's your audio here. I think we need to send it to Bond County to do some surgical operation to
let me see. Is it better?
No, it's still not serving my audience right.
Okay, yeah.
Is he coming in from Banga? Is he on the tour?
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether he's a salary and a holding or whatever he is.
No, I'm around through.
So you want to make an adjustment and I can get you in something okay. All right. So let me just have Leo and okay, gentlemen, I want to thank you very much. Even though it's a holiday, but we also have a community commitment to get conversation going. So let's get it going right away. Let me see whether I can get George out from this other side, and then I can see. All right, as soon as I get to your image, by George, I'm going to be bringing you in. Okay, so Professor.
Yeah.
We're saying that the president, His Excellency George, but first of all, let's get to this cardinal issue here. According to Al Jazeera, a major cable news network, are reporting it now. There is Ebola outbreak in neighboring Guinea. That's concerning. It's alarming.
Yeah. Again, having Ebola just next door is indeed alarming. I don't know how much more can that region take. You know, it just, when I heard about it, it just something dropped from me. You know, with all our challenges that we go through in that region, I don't know, having another Ebola, how we can take it. But I think what is most important this time is that the government of Liberia has something on its side. It has an experience on its side in dealing with pandemics. And so I want to be very positive. I want to remain sanguine that the government will take every necessary action so as to prevent Ebola from coming into Liberia. Those actions should include shutting down the border, moving troops moving troops along the Guinean Ivorian border, making sure that people are screened before coming into Liberia. Equally so, we need to already identify hospitals and places within Liberia, especially in the neighboring, in the bordering counties, to begin to receive potential, individuals who will be potentially suffering from the Ebola virus. Because if it's in Guinea, right now it's in Conakry. That's a good distance from Liberian border. But if it's in Guinea, given the level of trade between Guinea and Liberia, it's extremely likely that we'll enter Liberia.
Okay, let me bring in Leo here, young man based in Canada. Again, Leo, if we want to call you, thank you so much for joining us here. In the mix of politics, development, pandemic it has no boundary. Here we are getting this sort of news, 3 reportedly dead in Guinea. That's quite alarming. We know the trading system between Guinea and Cote d'Ivoire open border. If you are providing counsel for the government now, what could be the first step, or what you wish to communicate with the national government and things that we should begin doing?
I think for me, before I even maybe advise the president to close the border or whatever, you have to remember the National Public Health Institute came out as a direct result of the lessons learned from Ebola. That's what led to the creation of the National Public Health Institute. And I think we should activate that immediately. And that National Public Health Institute was really well funded and supported by all of our partners who came to our aid during Ebola. I think it's time for the president to immediately constitute a task force that will start to proactively engage all of our partners, because the fact is our healthcare system by itself is unable to deal with Ebola. We already know that. We don't need to debate it anymore. I think the president should constitute an immediate task force. I think he should communicate with his counterparts in Guinea, Sierra Leone, and Cote d'Ivoire, and they should start coordinating joint efforts around monitoring, screening, and sharing information with each other as to what's happening so that they have a good idea. But I would say National Public Health Institute should immediately be giving priority, budgeting, and they should start engaging what is USAID and the European Union, all of our partners, and letting them know that we cannot allow this. So we now need to get ahead of it. The last time we were chasing it. Now we need to get ahead of it, because some of the things that were deployed and some of the things that were done, the lessons are there. And we need I think it's in the best interest of all of our partners, including WHO, to get ahead of this and be very proactive rather than waiting until we have another massive outbreak on our hand. But I think most importantly, instead of just taking a unilateral decision to shut down the Liberian borders, I think President Weah should convene an immediate phone conversation or something with Guinea, Sierra Leone, Cote d'Ivoire, so that whatever efforts that they are putting together are being coordinated. Because we remember the last time when each of these countries started taking individual decisions on their own without a regional coordination, it was impossible to deal with this issue until they were able to coordinate their efforts to ensure that the same measures that we'll be taking in Liberia, we have to make sure Guinea is doing the same and not letting things down. Cote d'Ivoire is doing the same, Sierra Leone is doing the same, because that's the only way we'll be able to protect each other. It's impossible to man those borders. They're porous, people will cross it regardless.
So from what I'm hearing, you're taking a detour than what Professor Zawlo is suggesting to immediately close the border. you are suggesting first thing first, hand on vex, the government should send people, experts, in Guinea to do their own workout. Professor Zawlo.
Yeah.
Professor,
Yeah. I would
do you share his view?
Well, I would not say I don't share parts of his view, but I think whilst I agree that the border is porous, I think there are major transit points along the border which must be closed. The collaboration he's talking about is normal. There will be collaborations between the countries. To suggest here that all the countries will be doing the same thing is to take the safety and security of your people and let it rest on what another country is going to do or not do. I support the idea of engaging the USAID, the WHO, the CDC, and all international partners in this fight against Ebola. The last time, one of the reasons why we failed to continue Ebola was this whole idea of internationalism. President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf was very reluctant to close the border and to move troops. I'm not just calling for the closing of the border, the major border points. I'm calling for the moving of Liberian troops all along the borderline. The neighboring towns should be full. The troops should move within the neighboring towns, and healthcare workers should be moved very close to those areas. That's what I call for already setting up health centers to deal with Ebola in those neighboring, bordering villages and towns. We cannot this time take the safety and security of our people and place it on what goes on in Guinea, what goes on in Sierra Leone, or what goes on in the Ivory Coast. We must be able to protect our people first while we engage. Internationally, I believe in it, but I think first and foremost, we must be taking the actions to protect our citizens, and I think that's the way to go. Other things he said, I agree with it. Now, NFIL, the National Public Health Institute, is already activated. You don't need to reactivate it. I don't know whether tax force is a solution to a problem like this. They are already government, they are already established institution. I think they have the National Disaster Relief Agency. You have the National Public Health Institute. All those agencies should just be on their light, and they should just be doing the job they do. I don't see why we should set up a special task force, another layer of bureaucracy to engage this issue.
Amos George, Mr. George.
Yeah.
Okay. Here we are in the midst of the COVID-19. We're still dealing with this. I'm not sure whether those protocols are observed in as much the government tries to do it. Ordinary people are very defiant. People want to have their own way. When one of my men went to Liberia, he said, "Oh, that your time up in America, we don't have one mafia," So that is a challenge. Here we are. Ebola is being reported in Guinea, 3 deaths already. What is going through your head? And Liberia borders with Guinea. That's is alarming.
Yes, but Ebola is something when it hit a country, after some time we just pop up. And this is what we see happening in Congo. If you follow Congo, the same thing. And now the same place started from Guinea again. What the government is going to do? We talk about closure of border. Yes, those are the steps you take. But my concern has always been is that how effective a closing the border will be. Do we have the manpower to mend these borders with a layer of corruption on both sides, Guinea and Liberia, with a layer of corruption? Will we be able to put security that will be able to protect our people? And are the logistics there? Because it's easy to say we deploy people, medical people. But what are the logistics? Because the military must be equipped to efficiently patrol those borders. And that border is very long stretch. Long. Not even the main points of entry, but just the other area. Do we have the manpower? the logistic to deploy this boat that they will be able to work efficiently? Will they be paid on time? So it's a whole lot involved. The budget of the AFF is just been cut to $30 million. So, and what are the equipment? Because we can just say, oh, deploy the security forces. But the security forces need equipment in order to enhance the job. The question I'm asking is the AF prepared? Is the immigration service ready? The police, are they all ready? Do they have the logistical support now to be deployed? These are the questions I want to know. On the issue of tax force, these things are just created to foment corruption. You have the National Health Institute. These people got all the data, they have all the things.
So are you saying that the creations of tax force is a recipe to add up to the already corrupt systems?
In Liberia, any tax force is a recipe. It's that's just for corruption. Tax force in Liberia, I can say it. Did we hear any report from the tax force that was set up for?
Okay, hold on there.
Coronavirus?
Let me bring in the other folks here. And let me go to Canada there to see here. Zawlo and Amos George here, right here within the US. Let's cross to our next point here. Leo, he generalized it. Tax force is a recipe to corruption in Liberia. He's very definitive in his position. Do you have a borderline with that?
I must respectfully disagree. The reason tax force, anything can be used for corruption. Even the very MPhil we're talking about as in place, or any ministry can be used for corruption. You don't need to create a tax force to have corruption. So I think I would respectfully disagree that it is not tax forces or tax force that necessitates corruption. If people want to be corrupt, they can be corrupt right where they are. The reason people create tax force usually is when there are issues that tend to cross sectors that necessarily, especially in a country like Liberia, where we don't have effective information sharing systems. You see in the United States, when something happened, they have the systems, the information, the databases to effectively coordinate information sharing. We don't have that in Liberia. So something like Ebola happens, you're talking about calling the military. You're talking about getting the police. You're talking about getting immigration. You're talking about getting the entire healthcare system, hospitals, doctors, all involved. Who's going to be managing this from an administrative standpoint to ensure? We're talking about engaging our international partners, WHO, CDC, USAID, European Union. So you're telling me that the Ministry of Health by itself or MPhil by itself is going to have to be coordinating all of these things on top of the job they have to do. So a task force does not have to be another layer of bureaucracy. A task force has to be created identifying key TORs. So terms of references. The reason when people create task force, they don't know what to do. Sometimes it's not as clear as to what their role is. You're going to have to coordinate a massive operation of revenue generation in terms of mobilizing resources. We don't have the money sitting in our budget. We're going to have to go out there to mobilize our partners and people to raise this money. But let me just talk about this. Our entire military is not more than 3,000 men. Our entire military is not more than 3,000 people. So I agree. We should be deploying. We should be doing all of the things we have to do. But let's ask ourselves, do we have the manpower? Do we have the resources to even deploy these people, first of all? So we don't even have the manpower to man our borders. And that is the reason why I think cross-regional approach is going to be extremely important here. We can man the borders all we want from our side. If Guinea, Cote d'Ivoire, Sierra Leone don't do their part, it will almost be fruitless, because I tell you, more people cross the border at illegal points than the number of people that cross the border at the legal points. So if even 5 people manage to get across the border illegally when we close the border, we defeat the purpose of manning the borders, because it doesn't take 200 people to have Ebola for it to spread. It would take only one person sneaking into Liberia having Ebola, and before you know it, we can set up a firestorm. So I don't disagree. I don't think it's about, which one is right or wrong. It's about really identifying what would get us to mobilize the resources. It's not easy. You need experts who understand how to navigate the international community to raise this money that we need to effectively fight this thing. They don't have to be doctors and nurses. So we can take the doctors and nurses to start focusing on all the other international efforts, fundraising, mobilizing resources, negotiations, engagement, when they are supposed to be focused on tracking the virus and understanding how it's playing out, while there are people focused on mobilizing the resources that they need to go out and do their job. So I still insist you need a task force, because unfortunately Liberia does not have the type of robust information and data sharing systems that you need in place to be able to fight something like Ebola.
Okay, I will be coming back to Pa Joyce. He's created this Pandora box here, but let me go to Professor Zaulo. Professor Zaulo, Leo put out the spreadsheet right there into contact. Is it time now? This is when it comes to Ebola, there should be no government and oppositions and all of that. I am happy in the sense there's some sort of proactive measures being taken while the president is out of the capital. There's a press release from the executive mansion. President William mandates increase EPR surveillance and preventive measures amid report of Ebola resurgence in Guinea. That's how one people. That's how one go. What I would be enforced, what I would be progressive, what I would be properly executed. But I must give this a little part up on behalf, because I like to see people taking action in terms of bringing a resolution to a crisis. Leo put a spreadsheet out there. Do we really have that logistic, or we felt below the belt? I'm not sure whether this Ebola team, the management team, all of that, they are still active. There's going to be another burden on national government, because it has to be contained. And it's not just about more resources, money, everything has to be put into it. Are you worried about that?
I'm worried. I'm worried, and but I guess what I would say again. Leo laid out well. He said that it's not whether you support one or the other, but he calls for the combination of all of these approaches to provide solution to the problem. And I agree with you. I agree with him. But here's what I would say. Look, I think one of the first things that has to happen is the president needs to discontinue his visit. He should cut short his visit. He should return to Monrovia. He should convene a meeting of the cabinet. And though I do not call for a setting of a special task force, he should begin to mobilize the line agencies into taking all the necessary actions needed to prevent the Ebola from coming in. Look, our experience, I do not agree with Mr. George that the task force is a source of corruption. But what I do want us to, Leo and everyone out there, to be able to take into consideration is look at the experiences of the past, the most recent past, the task force for the coronavirus. If you watch their proceedings, if you watch their meetings, their the press conferences that they were hearing, even though there was a task force set up, you will see the level of confusion, disunity, misinformation that was being put out there by the task force. Generally, setting up a task force is not necessarily a very bad idea. For our system, it's just adding another layer of bureaucracy which normally do not work for to mitigate the problems. It did not work during the time of coronavirus. You hear the Minister of Health saying one thing, you hear everybody coming together, everybody wanted to make a comment, and so they were just giving conflicting information. I think this crisis is a national health crisis. It's a national health crisis, and that was the purpose for which we created the National Public Health Institute. We have the National Disaster Management, so that's there. We have the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which is responsible for engaging our international partners to mobilize resources to come in and engage this issue. I think all those things have already been set up. The president should return to the capital and begin to provide leadership and direction so that those agencies can begin to do their work. Will they have an opportunity to meet with each other? Yes, they will meet. Now, I'm not saying that we should not engage the neighboring country. We should engage them. But what I'm saying is that we cannot say that we should all be doing the same thing. We can't control it. We do not have a legislative instrument to tell the Guinean government, the Guinean military, the Guinean immigration, the Guinean health agencies to do what we want them to do. We do not have it. Within the framework of ECOWAS, we can do a lot of things. But I still say we should protect our own people. Yes, our military is small. But mind you, we have our military has transformed into being, like the president said in his last message to peacekeeping force. The Liberian military has provided services in promoting in serving peacekeeping. So look, we have the capacity to do it. We need a when you talk about moving people towards the border, I'm not talking about going and line up the border line and say, now I want to stand here, everybody's going to pass through. I'm talking about multi-layer of check and balances to prevent the infiltration of people from those countries into Liberia unknowingly. So I'm talking, for example, you will have a certain number of military officers positioned in Loguato. Further down the road, when you move further down the Complay again, you have another group of people over there again who will be doing all these checks along the way. So those are the things we are calling for. But I think, it requires a multifaceted approach. The vector of Ebola is extremely challenging to contain, and no one idea is a panacea. It requires all of these things to be done to engage it. But one of the things I call for personally is the president needs to discontinue his visit, his tour of the nation, return to Monrovia with his cabinet, and begin to tackle this issue. This is no joke. This is no joke.
All right, let me hold you there, Pa George. It was a complete smash down to when you called for, when you said having these tax force a recipe to corruption. That was a complete smash down from Canada, from USA. Do you want to clear that?
It's not a smash down. They agree. Professor Gallup just said they don't need that kind of tax force. Professor just agree with me.
I did not agree. Okay.
That's the thing, Mr. So the hard true people don't like those. Yeah. The tax force from the coronavirus last year, you saw the confusion between the Ministry of Health and that of NFA, or National Health Institute.
And sure.
The dental association, the doctors, all were confusion. What was the accountability given to the Liberian people? Can anybody that tell me? Since the coronavirus, because we don't hear anything again, did that committee or that task force come up with any report to the Liberian people? No. So why we can't talk the hard truth? Coordination, fine. The National Health Institute, the Ministry of Health, they can coordinate. The joint security, they can find a team of joint security, fine. But when you bring all these people in, the confusion will start again. There will be nobody to account. Everybody wants to be the boss. These are the issues.
So then let's try to play around.
These are the issue. Let me go back to stress on the security. You talk about deploying people. Yes, they don't have to take 1,000 men to deploy them. Look at the border, look at the more porous area, and say, okay, this area, we know this is where people cross Bakino or places. The people in that area, they know. Put some people in those areas. Yes, but I'm saying, do we have the logistics again? These people are be driving up and down. They need gasoline. They will need food. Do we have that kind of money now to deploy the army? Because the police will come in, the immigration, the DEA, all these people. You got to take people from other area to send them to that area. And we know with the present situation in Liberia, the security situation in Liberia. So this is a very serious crisis that coming to Liberia.
Okay.
And as Professor Tao said, one thing, the foreign minister can liaise with Guinea and just to inform Guinea, inform Sierra Leone, inform Ivory Coast of the Liberian government decision because of what they experienced.
So are you
2014?
You injected something into the conversation before I bring it in. It's not just all about it. It is time now to send people inside Guinea, talk to their counterpart, have a conversation. So there must be some sort of arrangement, honestly, because in as much you want to have it contained, you don't want to do anything they are your neighbors. They are being about, so it has to be done strategically. Are you in support of Liberia sending people by this time to Guinea to have that sort of conversation? And Professor Zablo also mentioned something very key. He's calling on his president. He called on the president to boycott, to kosher his visit. and come and address the situation. Are you in support of that?
That decision is up to the president. I don't want to call it that. People
No.
will say, let me say this. He's the president of Liberia.
No, you are
Hold
Liberian.
on,
You have
hold
a
on,
stake.
Mr.
You have a stake
Hold on.
as well.
Hold on, Mr. So, the president of Liberia, he has a advisor. He can evaluate the situation. If he deems it fit for him to cut short his visit to come down, fine. If he don't, that's him. So I don't even. I just want to leave it with him. Whatever decision he wants to take, he can take it. He's the president of Liberia.
Okay, before I bring in Leo, you're living there with him. Professor Zalo is putting for the, and that's part of it. You know the tradition here. We critique and we at the same time make recommendation with the hope, whether they listen to us or not, our job is to make recommendation to national government. You living there with him. If anything goes wrong, will you come back here to critiquing or criticizing?
Well, Mr. So it just he's the president of Liberia. He should wear he visiting the country and what is at stake now.
Okay.
That's the decision for the president to make. I can say that I said that he come down tomorrow. He doesn't come. What happened? So he has a responsibility to weigh the situation and say, no, what happened? I gotta go back to the capital to mobilize people to make sure things are in order. But as again, they say the person can work from anywhere. So he can be in Z group and still work.
So Leo.
Yeah, I just want to clarify a few things here.
It's quite interesting. This is a classical illustration how politics and the nation is being divided. All right. The president, he knows his job. He has his advisor. Okay. We know the president has his advisor, and sometimes crazy decisions have been made, but we come back and we say, no, the president should have done this, and we did not put forward alternative. So, but Professor Zablo, that was a strange thing. Not a strange, let me not use that word, but it's kind of surprising, but not over the top, but he's always to the point. He is calling on the president to caution his nationwide tour and come back and maybe and hold an emergency section with experts, his health personnel, and begin to strategize now, because this is more serious than we don't know. We're going to be the outcome, but it's better to have hands on it. Go ahead.
I have to agree with Professor Zawala on that, but I will also just clarify something. You know, when people say tax force, we need to understand what we're talking about, because people think it's about going to collect a new set of people. The reason why the coronavirus tax will never work is because you put a bunch of people together and didn't give them a direct terms of reference. It doesn't matter what group you put together, tax force or no tax force, if there is not terms of reference with clear delineation as to what your deliverables are, everybody just trying to figure out what to do. That's not what I'm calling for.
But Leo, let me just ask you.
Hold on. You will come. Pajo, you will get, like he made his point. I will come. You will come.
A task force could be something as simple as Ministry of Health, MPhil, the military, those agencies that would be directly involved on the fight, or working on a coordination committee where they all talk to each other to know what the military is doing, what is MPhil doing, because they all have a part to play. If the military drop the ball on their piece, it will affect what MPhil is doing and what the Ministry of Health is doing. If MPhil drops the ball on their piece, if MPhil knows something and there is no coordinated way of that information filtering effectively throughout the system, the same confusion you're talking about will ensue. So when we say a task force, I'm not saying the president should go out there and gather all kinds of random bureaucrats and bring them in the room. The president should be sitting at the head of that task force, Ministry of Health, MPhil, military, whoever else is directly involved, reporting to the president on an hourly basis as this situation progresses. I'll give you an example. President Joe Biden just came into office, and given how the coronavirus was going out of hand, what did he do? He brought all the agencies together and created a task force, not a new set of people. The same people already working on it, but created a central node of information sharing and communication so that what the military knows, CDC knows. What CDC knows, all these agencies know at the same time, rather than saying, oh, the Ministry of Health did not know that the military was, had caught somebody at the border with Ebola. Or the military caught somebody at the border, they were sick, but they didn't have no way of testing whether they had. Then you get the same confusion. So I'm not calling for setting up another bureaucratic nature. I'm just calling for all of the information, organizing how information is filtered and who is in charge. Exactly. Because right now, yeah, it is Carter. So when you say a task force, it's not saying create a new body of people who are not already involved with this thing. We're saying organize a central node of these bodies, because now not one ministry got to take care of it, and not only Ministry of Health. Usually, if it was just Ministry of Health issue, then we say no. But we're calling for the military. We're calling, so a task force. Let's define it. Does not necessarily mean a new body of people directly. It could be the same people already working on this thing, just organizing. And let me talk about the issue of coordinating with Guinea and Cote d'Ivoire. Let's admit here, Liberia does not have, of all the countries in our region, Liberia has the least amount of resources when it comes to healthcare wise to deal with this issue. So it will benefit Liberia to start to work with their partners directly to be able to make sure that if there are opportunities to share expertise with them, we can share expertise with them. Who knows which country? The last Ebola crisis, Liberia became ground zero. And as a result of that, we had the greatest burden of everything. So if we say we are going to close our border and try to deal with this issue internally, I can assure you we are looking for trouble, because the signals we'll sending our experts to Guinea right now is very important, because you know why? They will start to see the developing trend of this thing and start to see some lessons very early on. Because at the end of the day, we don't have the capacity of dealing with this issue on our own. As much as I agree with you, Professor Zaulo, that we should protect our people first, but we don't have the resources, we don't have the capacity. So I am saying, let's start to let our neighbors know now that this thing is in all of us' interest. If Liberia goes down, the region goes down. If Guinea goes down, the region goes down. If Sierra Leone goes down, the region goes down. So it is important now to make sure President Weah is sitting at the top of this task force, and all of the people that should be reporting are reporting to him on a daily basis with briefings as to how this thing is evolving, so that he's able to engage our international partners who will provide us the resources that we need as to the seriousness of the matter. Leadership is symbolic. When President Weah is sitting on and have to report to him daily, nobody will take it for fun, because you will know that you can be fired. You're reporting to the president directly. If you fool around and something happens, you are on the hook.
Okay, so Patrick.
Yeah, let me say this. He was talking about direction, supervision, clear terms of reference. Is it saying that when the task force for the coronavirus was organized, the president did not give a clear mandate, terms of reference? It was given.
No,
Take for example,
no, there was no clear terms of reference for that task force.
They were giving a terms of reference. But it is the Liberian system. When people are attached to leadership, they don't care. You saw fight between the Minister of Health, Dr. Jala, and the guy from National Enfi. You saw them. What was the government, what was the president doing at that time when these people were talking here and there?
Because nobody knew who the boss was. There was no clarity.
Then that means if you say there's no terms of reference, then of course, then at that point with the leadership in Liberia, because the president would not put a committee together and don't give them terms of reference.
Okay,
don't give them direction. And the issue of Guinea, I said it before, the government should send a committee and dispatch people there. Because here's the thing, Mr. Soul. If the Guinean government with the Liberian government, they get to identify those times in Guinea where there's an outbreak, then of course the Guinean government can do something maybe to help the country and us, maybe by quarantining those areas. Okay, but if you don't come together with them, who don't know which time, who is trying from A to B. So there will have to be a close coordination between those countries that border Liberia for this virus. I agree, we have to protect our side, but if we don't get these countries involved to cooperate, we are wasting time.
Yeah,
somebody was sneaking.
Okay, yeah. Professor Zaulo.
Yeah.
Let's do a little bit case study here, because they get us saying you sit on the old mat and then you can get a new mat going. And I'm talking about the most recent one that has to do with the coronavirus. Was there any, and Leo will respond to that, is there any lesson learned in terms of the compositions of that committee and seeing what is coming to town again? We do not want it to come. We intend to prevent crisis, not to manage crisis, and that's why we are having this conversation. And we hope the government will move in that same direction. Was there a lesson learned from the coronavirus committee task force that were constituted? Will we see a different dimensions into what is about to surface?
First of all, there should have been lessons learned. There should be lessons learned. there was more than one task force, if I can speak that way, that was constituted. And so, young man Leo, that's what we are worried about. Whether this time again they wouldn't spiral into several different task forces, and everybody will be doing the same thing. That's my concern about having a task force. There was a task force that was supposed to be headed by the Ministry of Health, I think, in N5. Then there was another one being carried on by Mary Bro and Nabono, correct?
Yeah.
Guys, yeah, there were all kinds of there were so many multi layers of things are operating at the same time.
Then you have which tap it in another tax force.
Yeah. So which led to more confusion. I think at one point there was even concerns about the Morea City Corporation being involved at a certain level and all those things.
6,000 men, which I don't know, there was some part of interjet of that whole tax force committee, whatever it is.
Yeah, I do not oppose interagency. I do not oppose regional collaboration to engage this thing. I know we cannot defeat this virus with all the involvement of all the necessary line ministries and agencies. There has to be a coordination. That's why I call for the president to return to the capital and assume the role of a commander-in-chief, besides calling the president to return. I think the president should seriously consider that the government of Liberia should begin to prepare to explore the possibility of calling for a state of emergency and declaring this thing as a national.
You take that out of my mouth.
Yeah, to declare this thing as a national security issue with serious potential for serious implications for our country. Our economy will collapse if Ebola enters Liberia this time. It will basically collapse. So we got to do everything on our part. Now, let me say this. I don't think I will support sending our people to Guinea. I don't think we need to get into Guinea to know what's going on there. I think there can be cooperation between the Guinean authorities, the Liberian authorities, the Ivorian authorities, the Sierra Leone authorities. All of those things can happen. I don't think we need to send people physically on the ground.
I don't mean putting people on the ground just to inform them. I mean, I just say coordination. That's all.
There should be coordination within the West region now. That's what we're talking about. Without Leo, do you agree with that? Without sending experts to say,
so you guys, I think you're pretty giving a foundation for why a tax force should exist. Who's going to coordinate that vast amount of type of action in terms of the Liberian government? You remember, this thing has to be specifically focused on Ebola. It's not the usual channels that we use, for diplomatic communication. It has to involve specific experts who know the type of information to communicate, how to communicate it, when to communicate it. It has to be health experts. It has to be people who have the technical know-how and understanding of the lay of the land. So you can't have the foreign minister being in charge of something like this. He does not have the know-how. He wouldn't know what and when and how these things are supposed to happen. But I disagree that we should not send people to Guinea. I will tell you why. You are asking us to trust that we'll just agree the way the Guineans information are giving us, we can just trust that it is okay. First of all, the region of Guinea where this Ebola thing has been found, we need to understand the geography of that area directly to know how it's affecting the Liberian border. Because clearly that would be the hot zone.
Border with the proximity of Liberia.
Exactly.
Leo, I heard that it's from the Conakry area. Is that correct?
I'm not too sure yet because the cases have gone to 7 now.
Okay, so
So Kekedu is closer, it's much closer to Liberia.
Look, I understand the importance and the value of international cooperation. One of the things Mr. George said here, he talked about the resources. The resources will be made available for sure. The World Health Organization, our development partners will definitely assist us. I know people out there are going to say it's embarrassing for Liberia to always depend on those people. The reality is we do not have the resources to be able to combat this thing on our own. So those things will be there. The World Organization will be able to do some of those things. I don't want to be insulting, but equally so, let's not make big noise here. Our people going over there will not add a lot of value to what they get from them. We don't have the expertise to go over there and collect anything very meaningful to bring and contribute. We just don't have it.
But again,
mind you, I'll tell you one thing, and I know it. My brother is a doctor. My younger brother graduated from the Dagladi College of Medicine as a valedictorian of his class. Very nice man. And I know I talk to him and I respect him. We just don't have the I don't see the value in our people going over there to bring something that's going to really help the situation.
You want me to tell you the value? I can tell you.
No,
Well,
Mr. Zhao, what I'm saying here,
the CDC would do that for us.
yeah, Mr. Zhao, what I'm saying here, I'm not saying Liberia should go to say, because anything you do, the Guinean government will have to agree first. That's the first thing. The Guinean authority have to agree. Even to coordinate, the Guinean authority will have to agree. But if because of the proximity of this area, they can communicate with the Guinean authority, the people from the Ministry of Health or National Health Institute, whatever, they can communicate with the counterpart, the government, and say, look, this is the region or town that this thing is happening in.
So, guys, I want to save national government funds here from stopping our experts from going in there. So,
Mr. So, we are talking about Guinea. We're not talking about China. It's right across the border. It's not like we're talking about Asia. Let me just give you the value. Hold on. Let me just give you the value here, right, Mr. So? Let me ask make a simple point here, right? For example, we pretend like when we say we should do these things, that means we have the money right away to go and take it and send our people there. This is when you approach organizations like USAID, like CDC, and you come up with recommendations to them and say, based on lessons last learned, would the CDC be willing to help us provide us 2 experts that can understand the behavior of the virus in Guinea? It doesn't mean we physically have to come and take our Liberian doctors. What we're saying is create the mechanism through which we can have reliable data and information. I'm not saying send Liberian doctors there. And I think there's a lot of value in doing that. And I think our stakeholders will actually be interested in wanting to nip this thing in the bud, like the people can usually say, right from the source and from the beginning.
Yeah, but our stakeholders, I will tell you this. Exactly what you are saying, just what we are saying. Our stakeholders will already be doing that.
No, you're assuming that the last time that was the mistake we actually made, Ebola got worse. No, I'm telling you, no international organization, including the World Health Organization, stepped in officially. They did not even declare it until it was August when Ebola started in March. And it was too late. They themselves admitted that it was too late before they came in.
That's true.
So I don't want to make that assumption.
It was the Ellen government that sat down there and remember.
Again, Mr. George, I don't want us to start nitpicking about which government. The fact is, Ebola was declared in Guinea worldwide. Everybody knew. It was not even Liberia yet. Let's be fair. So we can't just blame the Ellen government. The World Health Organization wasted time until late August, and they themselves admitted that they were too late to get involved.
Let me say this, Mr. Johnson. Let me say this.
It's not Ellen. It started in Guinea.
No. Let's get something right here. When Anderson Cooper and Samuel Gouda was in Guinea, I think June, reporting, the government of Liberia should have taken precaution, not waiting for the international organization.
And do what? They don't have the resources.
Hold on.
1 second. What sort of precaution?
Now, you don't have that much resources, but what are you doing at the time to protect the people? They should start building tanks in Lofa. Ellen said they did not have money.
And where did the money come from?
Come on, man.
But
I'm just asking.
Let me go back.
Just want to know.
What you talking about where the money coming from?
The money has to come from WHO, and we did not have the resources.
Okay,
but I think
let's lower the temperature. Let's lower the temperature so that the folks will understand.
Leo, why I want to agree with some of the things you are saying. Again, you said this. You are saying exactly what I'm saying also here. Look, the resource is not going to come from Liberia. It's going to come from outside. And in terms of expertise, we do not. I mean, our doctors do well. The kind of information that you could get from the scene. I don't know what our doctors are equipped to be able to go into Guinea and get those kind of information. Now, let's give the World Health Organization a credit here that they have become better since the Ebola situation. They have become more proactive. President Trump, for example, let's give him the credit. His actions has made the World Health Organization to be more alert. And I can guarantee you here that based on what that region experienced, based on the resources the United States government spent to kick Ebola out of Liberia, out of that region, this time they will be more proactive. Now, we cannot just depend on them. We got to do what we got to do to protect our citizens. But let me also point it up. You know, one of the things Mr. George just talked about winning Gali, and I don't want to be going all over the place, but those are the individuals that caused that thing to spread in Liberia. That was a very incompetent man to head the healthcare system in the country. He did not have the expertise, he did not have the experience, and he did not have the the agency necessary to help him, do that. This time is different. I'm just afraid of putting people together also see what we saw during the COVID-19 thing. It was disastrous. I watched them every day. For the first day, they were coming out with their reports. And some of the guys on that team, one personal friend, that's a friend Sekete, for example, very good friend of mine. But I saw how their performance was so disastrous. It was causing more confusion for the people than it was helping.
Yeah, we even yet to note after he was fired, there are a lot of things being out there. I don't know whether that investigation is being concluded. Now we try to dip into or making a forecast what they should be doing. But let's look at the structure in terms of the sort of composition. If there will be a task force at this time around, you came out here very forcefully, Professor, that the president should be considering now of shortcutting his visit to come and address the situation. And by and large, I agree with that because this is a very serious thing. Because if it really goes ugly, I don't think he can even afford going visits. Let's look at the structure now. Let's see now. Let's begin to pull around the sort of structure. If there will be a task force, what sort of what should be the composition? To what type of people, what kind of technocrat or what sort of professionals that should come together? The last time we have Finabono, we have Mary Bro, you have the MFA on this other side, the Ministry of Health. I don't know whether it was a sort of popularity contest or sort of exhibition that we're doing. I have no idea. And you kind of like, you agree, and I agree, that was a complete disaster. As a result, most of the people that were part of that thing, self-education, I don't know who was taking instruction from who, how the chain of information, it was just crazy. So let's look at the structure for God's sake now. What kind of people that this president, can we make a recommendation that the government should consider? What are they going to listen to? Or that's a different boy game. But we must play our part so that history will get us down in roll. Let me start with you, Professor. What sort of people you want to see being on that committee or task force, unlike the last one?
I want to see Leo doing the term of reference.
I would be more than happy to advise on how it should be drafted. That's something I do in my day's job as well.
Yeah, I want to see Leo. No, on a serious note, Leo's a smart young man, and I agree with him that in most of these situations, the term of reference is normally muddied, and so people don't know what they should be doing. And because of the fact that in Liberia, whenever there's a small resources, everybody want to get a piece of the pie. It can make coordination very challenging and difficult. But I do agree that in most of these cases, the term of references are not being clear. I agree with you on that part. So who I'd like to see in this thing? Look, I think, like we said, the line ministry should be involved. But I think, one of the things we do in Liberia, which is not totally right, we have expertise amongst Liberians living in the diaspora. I want to see the government of Liberia reaching out to the diaspora and identifying the best of us and inviting them to form part. There will be a task force. I don't support it, but there will definitely be a task force set up. I cannot tell you that it will not be.
Why are you not supporting the task force?
Because like I said, my own experience with task force in Liberia, the term of reference will not be clearly defined. I don't see anything happen different this time. If people don't generally work together, the people work against each other because everyone most of the time is in it for themselves.
Responsible for that? Why would they be working against each other? Why would there be no coordination? Why there will be no tie? They will not connect. Why there will be no sharing of information? That's the basis of a working team. Those are the qualities that constitute a working team, and not just only a working team, an effective working team. If 4 or 5 of us here, we coordinate, we discuss, we talk, we agree, we disagree, we put all right on the dashboard and we sort out what is applicable at this time and what is not. So why would these people can't coordinate? And if they can't coordinate, who has the power to take action?
The president. The president has this is a situation where the president has to really exercise leadership. He has to exercise leadership. This is no eating crab machine.
Well,
I trust the president will act. The president has to. He has to.
He did it the last time.
He what? What?
He did it the last time around during the
Well,
coronavirus.
I would encourage the president to display a leadership this time that is nowhere similar to the leadership he displayed during the COVID-19.
Is that no to my question?
No, I'm saying I would expect the president to display a leadership this time that is in no way similar to what he provided during the COVID-19.
Leo,
Yeah.
what team would be put together? And I agree. These people, when there's a committee, they might have a term of reference, their duration, or and regular briefing. That's what we see happening here. And we prefer to be a little bit America, and even let's put aside a little bit America. Part of that is to reassure the public and to reassure. Let me pick up this phone call here. I want our audience to also interact. Let me bring in one of my favorites on this network here, Pakwame. Good evening.
How you doing, sir?
Okay, yeah, we are again. Should I say happy Valentine's and everything? Let me just say that. But yeah, we are again in the midst of Corona. The people say we can talk about movie. They don't talk about movie in Liberia. Ebola now has emerged into neighboring Guinea. I see the release here from the executive mansion. What should the president considering doing now?
Well, I want to say hi to everybody, and they are making some beautiful contributions. Because I believe in talking. It's better to be thinking, talking than talking. So Liberians, for the past, for the past year, we are engaged in talking, no solutions. I heard that certain portion or certain department are not competent. Governments are intertwined. If the hair is not functioning, nothing else is going to function in the government. I don't care how one department is competent. We're not bringing a solution.
Which direction are you heading to, Mr. Kwame? Which hair are you talking about, NFIL or the national government of the Republic of Liberia?
The president should serve as managers, and the responsibilities of managers is to supervise the daily activities of every department, to see that they are functioning to the level and correctly. So if they don't have the solution and they don't have the technical experience to do so, every department will go into coma. As a result, they will be busy doing nothing. This is what is taking place in Liberia. Especially government is like an electronic device. When you press one button, every part of it functions. So if the hair is not functioning and they don't have the technical experience to pull the operation format in place, definitely every other department will go into coma. So I won't consider one department competent or non-competent. All right. So for the situations in Liberia, especially for the first Ebola, actually it was not done by WHO. It was done by the international community headed by United States and partnered with WHO. But United States took a lead along with the special, the specialty that they have in this country, particularly coming from national institutions of health and other places in the United States. So they put their expertise together and sent it to Liberia. So along with WHO been sleeping for a very long time. Or they've been dragging their feet for a very, very long time. They are not being active at all. So let's give that credit to the United States government. All right. Liberia has no expertise. Maybe they have in the diaspora. I may not know. But in the country at present, they don't have any expertise to curtail this kind of international pandemic. They don't dare. But that does not mean they cannot form partners.
So quickly, if they do not have, what should they considering doing now?
Well, first of all, they have to begin the dialogue. The government have to, they invite the responsible agency into the table to discuss it. And that will bring solution. And that solution will try. I mean, it will connect them to international partners, United States, United Nations, or WHO, wherever expertise that they can find to partner with, to able to prop out their people, their specialists on a fee, because no African country is prepared for this kind of pandemic. Even the Western world was not prepared for it, because this is not a pandemic that any countries have ever experienced in the past.
Okay, so quickly here, before I let you go, one of our analysts, I say here, Professor Zawlo, to be specific, is calling on the president to immediately or to use his good judgment to caution his toll and address this situation. Do you agree with him?
I definitely agree with him. Definitely so.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. We're still on. If there's anything you thought of sharing with us, let us know.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Okay. Leo, I'm sorry. We just want to make sure we get voices from our follower as well. You listen to him, but I pick up where you started from, and then you can respond.
Yeah, I think I was just trying to just inform everybody here again that first of all, we're talking about resources have to come from outside. USAID, the international community, or European Union, they're not going to be coming to give money to, some to the Ministry of Health, some to the military, some to the police, some to other. And we already know that there is this air of skepticism from the international community when it comes to dealing with the Liberian government. And, I don't need to say that whatever is rude, whether it was from the previous government or how things have been managed historically in Liberia, the international partners have expressed their skepticism for all sorts of reasons. So this is the reason why we need to put in place the quality of leadership. And when it comes to the terms of reference thing, let me make this very clear. Because something was done wrong in the past does not mean that thing is bad. It just means we need to learn the lesson for how not to do it. Clearly, doing the COVID-19, that's a lesson for how not to do a task force. Whoever was involved in setting up that task force, we politicized everything. That task force was more political than it was technical. We had a bunch of political appointments on that task force who knew nothing about COVID-19 or about healthcare, or they were just there to be political appointees, which is a horrible mistake. We didn't have the expertise on that task force. Most of the people on that task force were political appointees. And in my opinion, I think that's where it went wrong.
Let me ask this question. Any of you guys can grab the hook of it. Do we have a management team, emergency management team in Liberia?
Yeah.
Yes, we actually do.
Is it working?
This is the problem.
Autonomous agency, or we can just.
It is not. It is not an autonomous agency. Number one. Number two, most of these things are not funded. Most of them are not funded. So as a result of that, they just sit there and they're there in name, but they're not really there in action. And this is the reason. And our international partners know that. That is the reason why we need to have an interagency task force with the expertise. When you look at task force here, when President Joe Biden stands to give an update on the coronavirus, what do you see standing behind Dr. Fauci? These doctors, these tech, because they are not here to play politics for you. I mean, I'm calling Dr. Fauci from President Trump time to now, but you have the CDC. You have these people who are the ones that are responsible to do this. Joe Biden cannot go take his chief of staff at the White House and appoint his chief of staff as the head of the coronavirus task force when his chief of staff is not a doctor, number one. So I think we need to say to ourselves now, how do we correctly appoint a task force that have the confidence of our international partners that they will be brave enough to say, we'll put our money in? Madam Salif did it. When Ebola was going out of hand, what did she end up doing? She ended up pulling in a task force of the professionals that her MPhil came about, and she was the head of that task force. If you remember, Madam Salif, lately, even though she did it late, in my opinion, that's something that should have been done way when Ebola started. She did it lately, but it worked. It did work.
But that's what I'm calling for. That's what I'm calling
So,
for.
so let me just say something. People, we talk about expertise. I think during the Ebola time, there was a doctor from Liberia that was sent to come at CDC headquarters in Atlanta. He came back for some time, and I think he went back to Liberia. The issue, we cannot just uprightly say we don't have people there. I would not totally agree with it. There are some people who are competent. The issue here is what are the leadership will bring those people together. Those are the issue. Because right now we're looking at who would that we are bring to for the health ministry to report to. MFI. Who will he bring? These are the people who are supposed to be on the front line. MFI is the infection control area. The Ministry of Health is there. So who do we expect now the president again to bring outside to work with these people? Will they, if he bring people from outside, will they coordinate with these people? These are some of the issues that we're talking about. MFI got all the data, they train personnel, they train people there. MFI, they train their own people. During the Ebola, those people are still there. In all the counties, districts, they have people there. But what during the COVID-19, what they did, and Jefferson County went and recruited 5,000 men, and they left all the people that MFI had trained about disease. They left them.
Yeah,
And those were wrong.
that's
They left them.
I'm not sure that is correct.
And that has nothing to do with any task force business at all.
I'm not sure what he's saying is correct.
About what?
About Jefferson Koji, doing what you just alleged. I'm not very certain.
Mr. So, can you help me with that?
Mr. Zalo, that is actually true. But
That's
later
right.
on, Jefferson Koji succumbed to MPhil by making that team to go through MPhil, but it was true initially.
It was a technical. It's some disagreement, and the role that Jefferson Koji was playing was not the way it was just described by Mr. George. But let me come back to some of the things.
Hold on, Professor. Jefferson Koji, they said that what the men that he trained were to identify. And I'm saying, MFI, they train people already from Ebola.
There was confusion concerning that.
Professor, let me come here a little bit, and Professor Zalo will come here. I think that has been the sort of disagreement, because during that time I was privileged. I hosted a former MPhil director, Tobo Nyenswa here. I brought in Jubenya, who they said, based on your recommendation, they need to tap into the expertise of people in the diaspora. And there are documents that I have here that they make some proposal and nobody pays attention to them. I call into what I received, and there was numerous article front page, and we even carry some of that. And there was a huge misplacements of some folks. And like what Leo said, a lot of political appointments were made. People, do you think can the president go back into that direction? I believe there was a big slip in terms of people that were put in positions at the time. Can he afford doing that again?
No, I don't think he can. But yes, one of the things I want to correct you on again. People ascribing to themselves certain ability does not necessarily mean those people have this ability. There were certain individuals who were masquerading as infectious disease experts, and they were debunked by the World Health Organization and other people who were experts in the field. Whereas I know some of these guys and I respect their contribution to society, it does not necessarily mean that when they make suggestions, they can also take the power of a certain qualifications on themselves that they have not met. Look, one of there's so many things that we've learned from the Ebola crisis, the Ebola virus disease crisis, and the COVID-19. And Leo, I understand there has to be interagency collaboration. And you made something you said something important. You said that the term of reference will be very important. And diversity of politics will be very important. I do not necessarily support it, but maybe if this time we're going to come up with a committee, if we're going to set up a task force that is going to work, maybe it will be an eye opener for me, because I've lived too long to see that it hasn't worked. It hasn't really worked. And you see, our concern here, another thing I wanted to touch on was that when people talk about, containing the Ebola virus, containing a disease like Ebola, it's not necessarily containing it from the clinical clinical standpoint. You're talking about prevention. That's where the expertise is needed. Not necessarily from the clinical aspect. You don't want to be dealing. You don't want to be treating it.
No.
You want to prevent it. You want to prevent and contain the vector. That's what's most important. And the people who do that are not necessarily the doctors who will be working on the patients. These are people who have certain skill sets. And those skill sets, like Leo has said, I will agree, they do not rest within one agency. They are within several agencies of government. The military has a part to play to contain the vector. The immigration has a part to play. The Ministry of Agriculture has a part to play. Another aspect of this thing that you guys have not taken into consideration is the serious risks to food security in our country. A significant amount of our food we eat in Liberia comes from Guinea.
That's what makes
border trade.
That's what makes it a national security issue.
That's what I'm saying.
To that.
That's what I'm saying. It's a serious national security threat. And this is not something that the president should be anywhere outside of Monrovia when it's happening. He should be in his office. He should be putting in 24 hours to this thing.
Making phone calls.
He should be convening a meeting of the key line ministries and agencies and reporting directly to him. And the updates to the Liberian public should be starting now. We should begin to inform our people and hold press conferences every day to keep the people of Liberia informed.
Okay.
We need to start equipping our schools. Right now, we need to start preparing our schools. We need to start collecting. One of the things about what this thing has done, it has exacerbated the need for something that I would say my brother, Mr. Isaac Atukpa, and myself, and a couple other people have been calling for. We have called for a national single entity identifier in Liberia, where every Liberian will have something like a social security number. And it's very important to continue and managing such things. So this is a serious thing. And we should begin right now to even go into our schools. Because everyone has a part to play in continuing this thing. Go to our schools and begin to ask our students, our children, where are their parents going? There's a lot of trade going on between Liberia and Guinea and the Ivory Coast and the rest of those places. We need to be having information about who's going there, who's not going there, how long have they been there, how are they when they come back. All those things need to be done right now. It's a serious thing. And we got to do it whereas we're going to engage internationally. The main focus to be on containing Ebola from entering Liberia.
Okay, so let me ask this here. The politics in Liberia is so it's ugly, it's deadly, and it's the same way here. Should the government, the oppositions, the advocacy community, and all of those folks that are all in there to yelling and screaming, it's a time for them to solidify, to consolidate, and say, hey, this one here, when Ebola comes to town, God forbid, it has no boundary, it has no regard for CPP, COP, WEP, ALP, ANC. Does these political leaders, Leo, Tupac George, Professor Zawlo, do they have the guts? Are they able to come together to strategize? And if they are willing to come together, can this CDC-led government, can President George Weah, within his own world, accommodate these people to sit at a round table and put up a strategic and robust plan to get this contained? Who want to go first?
Let me just say this. I come from a different direction. When this thing taking place, we call it on political leaders. I expect the president to set the tone. When he set the tone, and let's see what the political leader will not follow. If the president can and make pronouncements, give direction where we're going with this disease, and let the opposition can say, oh no, that's not right, we can't do this.
The opposition too, let's do on the flip side.
I come in now. I don't want to do any opposition. They can make recommendation. It left for the president to take it. They can make suggestions, they can make recommendation. The president, the ruling party, the ruling government is the one that's supposed to set the agenda. Opposition can make recommendation. If the president doesn't take it, what can you do? Nothing. So as the president, I expect the president to set policy and agenda when it comes to this thing here. But I want to ask you, that Professor I was saying, those times in Liberia that born those countries, this is a time for education. Who crossing into the town and going back? There's a time now for awareness at the border time. People supposed to be going there now and putting the chief together and telling them this disease came here so time. It's coming back again.
Coming again.
So if someone come here, you should know who the person coming to, what they came for, how long they stay here. These are the things I expect now the government to start dispatching the message out there so the people on the front line, towns and villages, people can create awareness and maybe in local languages, that whatever, so it can be done to create this awareness. Because many of our people don't have the capacity to listen to BBC, to read paper. They expect the local media to pass the information over. And if it is not passed the right way, we are going to danger again. Because they are the one at the front line.
What?
Yeah.
So Leo, yeah, go ahead, Leo.
Yeah. I just want to, first of all, I don't know where this notion came from that opposition people only supposed to provide recommendations. I am seriously in complete disagreement with that the job of oppositions, as much as I agree that the president of the republic is the leader for the country and should lead and set the agenda. But the opposition always saying what the president is saying we should do not correct. And we are convincing ourselves that the opposition only job that to always tell what the president doing not correct. The opposition wields power.
Well,
That's
that's the part I didn't say so. That the president, the opposition is always there to make recommendation. I said
All
they can make suggestion.
So
to take it.
So what I'm saying is that's not what I was trying to say, Josh. That's not just the opposition, the limitation of the opposition job to make suggestions and recommendations. I'll give you an example. The opposition wields real power. We just saw during the just ended elections. They have hundreds of thousands of people that will listen to them as well. I think the opposition should be strategizing their own support within their means. We know the opposition does not have all the tools and apparatuses of government like the national government has. But we also know the opposition has some very powerful mechanisms as well. We saw the just ended referendum. When the opposition decided that they will not go for the referendum, what happened? They convinced their people and the referendum fell flat. We're talking about educating people here. We're talking about launching campaigns to prevent and contain this virus. What is wrong with the opposition coming together and figuring out, since maybe the government moving slow or whatever, or if they make a recommendation to the government does not agree to take it, what is wrong with them setting up their own campaign of getting out there, sensitizing our people, informing them what to do or what not to do? Like you said, Ebola does not know any political party color. If it comes in, we will all be affected. So let's say in the case where the opposition feels like the government does not listen to them, right? Let's assume that is the case. What stops the opposition from mounting their own community?
Are you expecting the opposition to take the lead in this case?
What's wrong with that? Let me just say this.
What I mean?
I expect every Liberian who has the capacity to take the lead, regardless of what the government does.
If the opposition come on the air and say, look, we suggest that people should wash their hands. People come here.
Let me just say this. Not a suggestion. What's wrong with the opposition distributing sensitizing buckets, hand washing stations, building hand washing stations? What is wrong with the opposition holding town halls to sensitize our people? What is wrong with the opposition going to villages? I'm not saying they should just come on radio. I'm just saying to you, when this crisis hit, for us to say, because it is the government's responsibility, so we will only suggest for the government to lead. What if we are dying and the government is not leading? So we say we should all continue to die.
Government can take the recommendation.
No,
so what I'm saying, so let me just conclude my point, and Professor Zalo, you can come in. Again, I'm saying we've gotten so used to this thing that it is the government's job. First of all, we are already saying here, the government is cash strapped.
Yeah.
The government does not even have the financial ability to move this thing. And we've seen the opposition having some real power. The just any election was a clear demonstration. When the opposition decided that they did not want people to vote for the referendum, what did they do? They went village to village on their campaigns, informing people to vote no or to not vote at all. And it worked. How is that different from a campaign against Ebola? So I'm not saying that the opposition full-time job to do, but you won't be government. This is a perfect opportunity to show some leadership so that people can see the stuff you're made of.
In America, Opposition make recommendation, the government doesn't want to take, they don't take it. It's just simple.
Yeah,
Okay.
but let me come in.
Go ahead, Professor.
Yeah, I think Mr. George, I think Leo is on point. And I think this is one of the problems we have in our country, wherein people don't understand what opposition is for. I'll give you a typical example. Mr. So knows it, you know it. In 2017, having heard the news about all the Liberian kids failing the Liberian national examination,
The wax exam, the university entrance. Sorry, yeah.
I was in the opposition. I took upon myself to go to Liberia to do something. The work of improving the conditions for Liberia is not necessarily just the work of the government alone. It's the work of everyone. The opposition has. Look, if the opposition is functioning as an opposition, that's exactly what they could be doing. They could be using their vast span to be able to promote and propagate their message to help in the continuation of this thing. That's a responsibility of opposition. Nothing.
I'm not saying they shouldn't. I'm not saying they should not. But I'm saying we cannot focus on that when the government is there. It's not taking the
Not focusing on every one of us. You got a part to play. I got a part to play. Leo has a part to play. Mr. So has a part to play. Every one of us.
We did a commercial here for Ebola.
Why are you acting against the suggestion by Leo and Mr. So? Mr. So said,
I'm just saying that opposition can make suggestion and recommendation.
Yeah.
It's left for the government to take it, because we're talking about government.
But that wouldn't be suggestion recommendation.
Not suggestion recommendation. What about action?
Listen,
but they can take action.
We're talking about government working with opposition. But in Liberia, since our new dispensation of this democracy, I have not seen it. The government doesn't listen to opposition. I have not seen it.
Here is the time to break the record.
Yeah.
It
doesn't. It doesn't.
Let me say, for example, Lofa County, for example, which is has some border with Guinea. The two senators from Lofa County, they are not from the ruling party, right? Why would the opposition, for example, not use its influence and maybe popularity in that area to maybe engage in activities over there that will serve to contain the disease? What does the opposition have to wait for government to do something? Why can't they just take action?
So where's the responsibility?
Professor Zaolo, let me just give a good example here. George, let me give you an example. Sir Joseph, the current senator, let me give you an example. Senator Sir Joseph, right? During the Ebola, if you all remember, Sir Joseph became a senator today because where the government was failing to reach our people, Sir Joseph took it upon himself. He provided leadership when Madam Sally government failed to reach communities. And because of the heroics, and he was not government supporter, he was opposition. Because of his heroics and leadership, he got rewarded by the Liberian people to be elected as a senator in the Liberian Senate. He was not opposition. He engaged his international friends and all those organizations he's a part of international in the United States. Sir Joseph had the highest number of ambulances in Liberia during the Ebola, more than even the government. Sir Joseph was reaching more people more effectively than even the government mechanisms. Now, I'm not saying every Liberian has that capacity. What I'm saying is we all should be holding each other accountable within our means. What is the means of the opposition? If the opposition make recommendations to the government, and let's say the government decide that they will not take it. And if the opposition believes that those recommendations are the solution to the problem, show me, don't tell me. So you say, my mayor in government first before you can take action. You got the power to take action too. I'm not absolving the government of its responsibility. The government should still be held accountable.
Taking action.
What is the action?
Buckets and food. They have been taking
so
action.
Then what? So why not this time you are saying my own recommendations and suggestions?
Don't call them all like if they have not been doing. It's something they have been doing.
No, we are calling everybody out. We are calling it the same way we are saying the government has, the same way we are cautioning, the same way Professor Zaul is calling President Weah to cut his trip short and come back to Monrovia to solve this problem. We should be calling all sectors of our society the same way.
I think it would be very unfair, per George, and that's my own view, that's my own opinion. You can throw it right on the thing here. I think we all have a share into this whole thing here. What are we having this sort of conversation? Is to throw it out there to all of the stakeholders and political actors, because there's a political decision, there's a political aspect of this. He as much is a health issue, but there's a political. What's about Okay, this is reported now. I'm waiting to see these guys, the 203 men and women, both the opposition and the governing party. I'm waiting to see whether they have the ability to even come together. Whether Sir Joseph can call Darius DeLong, and Darius DeLong will have the guts to answer whether Nyombli Kanga Lorry, as a strong political actor, whether they will come, because at the end of the day, they have to also enforce and also call on the executive branch of government. This is what we want to see happening. With these people, where they have the guts, the both houses of government, the lower, the upper house, they are committees responsible for health. Will we see then callings for some sort of emergency meeting at this point in time? Will they do that? Or we just want to leave it with the executive branch of government? Is that fair to conduct the affairs of a nation?
So no.
There's a party minister.
You know what I want to go on record to suggest also? I think it will be very important. Look, this is a serious national security issue. It will be very important for our legislator to announce to us that it will suspend some of the benefits they get for the next 3 months, as we together vigorously fight to continue this thing. This is no joke. The last time Ebola was in Liberia, for some of us, we lost people directly. My nephew, a senior student at the medical school, was forced to go to work, to go and help. He lost his life.
Oh,
he lost his life. This is no joke. It's about time the legislature act. Politicians, the opposition political parties, every Liberian, we should take this thing here very seriously. Like Leo said, I don't agree with Leo that our healthcare system is the worst of all those countries, because I know some of the countries there that have a situation that is far worse than ours, which is documented. But the entire region, except for maybe the La Côte d'Ivoire, the entire healthcare system in that region do not have the capability to confront this disease. When a disease reaches to the level where we are dealing with treatment, then all hell will have broken loose. We'll be going back to 2014. And for a nation that is trying to recover from two major shocks, ED and the COVID-19 and other issues of governance, that might be the end of Liberia.
Liberia will survive somehow. We just don't know what shape it will be. Yeah.
By the national legislature.
Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you guys 1 minute. We're going to shift gears to the last segment here before we wrap up for the day. Per George, deal or no deal, Professor Zawlo has already called out on his own government that he has defended, he has supported on this network here. They say, hey, Mr. President, this is more serious. You need to call this, you need to call your, cut off your counter tour and come back now and begin to put strategy or begin to do something. Is he on point on that? What would be your closing argument on there before we shift gear?
Look, Professor Zawlo, what he said is right. But the thing I always say is that, do people listen? These are some of the issues I got with these people. Do they listen? And if Mr. Soy, yes, my thing here, if I'm dealing with you 1 or 2 times, you are discussing and you don't listen to me, I really don't care.
Then you give up?
No, I don't give up. But I talk to you, but hey, I don't give up. But the issue, I do not put trust in that discussion with you again, because why it takes.
So you don't give second chances? Is that what you
told me? I said 2-3 times. If I discuss with you and you stay insistent, I try to back off, because it means that I'm wasting time. Let me deal with somebody else.
So in order to directly, you are telling me here I should be tired by this time and not.
Oh, no. You can't be tired, but you can't be talking to one person or and they not listen to you. They don't want to change. Now, professors, I have made a very clear call that, hey, look, I suggest the president come down and convene a meeting, come up with a strategy, call on everybody in the country to see how we can tackle it, to try to prevent this thing. Because we don't want to be treating it. When we're treating it, then it's a serious problem now. But what will we do to prevent it? Now to a point about the national legislature. You made a good suggestion. But then some people will start asking, they'll raise the question. Accountability. If we're going to give this money, how is it going to be used?
Oh, uh, uh,
Who, how,
have we,
who,
uh,
going to, who going to account for it?
Leo, what we are doing, we are trying to piece these sort of different pieces together. First of all, I don't think whether we have come to that's why meetings, technical meetings, coordination comes in. We are taking a systematic approach to finding resolution to what we are talking about. You can
Mhm.
you can't put all what her name say Hillary Clinton say in a basket of deplorable and you think you want to get a
Yeah.
so and you mention a key point here. I want to expand on that a little bit. Yesterday, I'm saying yesterday, the last time around, we did not have enough time to ask the then CDC, they were in the opposition. We never had enough time to ask them because every people say everything was right. And that's what I agree with you. And that's what the opposition too is not doing. They not they are not showing that sort of leadership style. They are not being pragmatic. They are not policy oriented, driven to see us to say this is the alternative. Should they come up with some sort of release now, putting forward what they should think or what they should think or should happen by this time? Should they come up with some sort of a release now as a sign of their preparedness if they were election or to be in leadership? Should they do it now, or they should be having their classroom teacher and all of this sort of nonsense to distract all around here?
No, if I was a member of the legislature or how they've influenced, or if I was even CDC, the legislators of the ruling party and the opposition alike, at this point we should be ordering all the agencies responsible for these matters to appear before the legislature and start to explain to us what actions are being put in place immediately to deal with this issue. And if there are none, I think the legislator has the power. We've seen it before to order our agencies to put together, to present to them two scenarios. One scenario is what will it take for us to take all of the preventative measures to deal with this situation. The second scenario should be what will happen if we should find out a case has crossed the border in Liberia. Because we cannot only hope to prevent, we got to be working hard to prevent, but also doing all we can do to know that if we come down with the virus, what I would do as a legislature, put the pressure on the executive. And there should be a bipartisan approach, right? If it's not coming from the executive legislature, order our Minister of Health and Phil and all of the agencies, order them before you, like you guys usually do for other things, and order them, give them a time frame to present to you an emergency plan, both a prevention plan and both a strategy for what happens. It is that strategy now you take to our international partners to say we've assessed this situation, we have looked at it, and based on what we are looking at, if this thing should cross the border, this is the situation we'll be in. This is what we will need. If we have to prevent it from crossing the border, here's what we need to do, and here's how much would it cost. Will you be willing to help us, partners? Trust me, your partners will take it more seriously and be more willing to look at ways they can support a plan that clearly shows that Liberia is serious in tackling this issue. So the legislature now, in my opinion, should be having NFL, Ministry of Health, giving them a full briefing as to what they know and what they don't know, or what they have in place or don't have in place. And then the legislature should be putting forth its order to these bodies to say, as the body responsible for oversight, we are asking you to submit to us a plan that will ensure that Liberia is prepared. If we don't have the money, that's a different argument. Now we take that plan and go to shop around to our international partners and say, here's what we've put together based on our understanding. Can you help us? And if this is not adequate, can you then help us from where we've stopped to make these plans adequate?
Okay, before Professor Zablo make his final argument here, Professor Zablo, I think you got a vote here if you were to go contest for Mount Gibby County here. This is Rabbi here. This is what he's saying. You say, yeah, all those 2 minutes of benefit need to be cut off for 3 months, period. Good idea, Professor Zablo. Look, emergency crisis requires emergency approach and some sort of robust approach. And it has to come from them. That's what we pay them for. They shouldn't be going on Facebook. They shouldn't be roaming all around going because it's no time. It is time to govern. They have a serious, they also have a big fish to fry in this year because when it goes down to the wire, believe me, it's going to be ugly. Professor, what would be your last point on this here?
But I think Leo just laid out a lot. This calls for, involvement of all levels of government. The legislature has a very important part to play. The executive has a very important part to play. And I think I would want to personally call on those two major organs of government to act. Like I indicated earlier, the president should term this thing as a national security issue and reach up to the legislature to authorize him to expend whatever resources necessary to contain this. Secondly, the government of Liberia should engage, like we said, our international partners, our neighboring countries, and coordinate with them to see how we can contain this thing. And again, I believe that the movement of closing of the Liberian borders is extremely important, not just with Guinea, but temporarily close the border with Ivory Coast and the Sierra Leone, and move troops to the border towns and have a multi-layer security structure from the border to each regional capital city to contain the movement of people who could potentially serve as vectors of this virus. We should not take this for a joke. The experience from Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, she did her part, is enough to inform us of the things that we need to do.
Why are we coming back with Helen Johnson Sirleaf?
I'm not criticizing her. I said she did her best, but the experience from her time.
So I don't want to sound ridiculous here. Let me throw this red meat here. Anybody who able to grab it, grab it. Professor, you said the first committee, they were like they didn't do their due. It will see, for example, Fina Bono coming back, assuming later they're having a tax force committee. It will see the re-emergence of Fina Bono again. Would that be a hair-scratching thing for you?
Yeah, I want to see Leo do the term of reference. I would not want to see Fina Bono on the committee. I would not want to see Mary Bro on the committee. I would not want to see the Minister of Health on the committee. I don't think he has the ability to help.
But Professor Samuel, if you say you don't want to see the Minister of Health,
the Minister of Health.
Yeah, you say you don't want to see on the committee.
Yeah.
Who do you want from the minister? Who do you want from the Minister of Health?
This is not a major health issue. They got a part to play. This is a major public health issue.
So yes, but Mr. So
she doesn't have the training
for Fina Bono and Mary Bro.
All right,
let me tell you who we need on the committee. Same Professor Zaolo asked. Since I'm the one drafting the terms of reference, maybe I got a part to play here. But what I would say is, first of all, you clearly these type of task force or whatever, you need someone who's an expert in disaster management and control. That's the first type of person, somebody with that type of background who understand the logistics, the communication structure, because 90% of this is going to be the communication, the logistics, the tracking, the organization of efforts, right? You need someone like that because you're going to be coordinating among server agencies that you need to be supporting, whether with information or logistics or supplies or whatever that is. So you need somebody with that type of expertise. And I would say this to people again. It's clear. You only know this when you draw up the terms of reference. And in my opinion, President Weah should set up a situation room immediately. And then sit down with his professional in the situation and say, okay, who do we need?
We need to take World Browser or the Liberal Progressive Samson Brown.
Exactly. Yeah, whatever you call it. President Weah should set up a situation room immediately. And then the question asked is, who's going to be working? Which one of the agencies are involved in this? And that task force should be then identifying. You want to bring people on the task force based on the need of a skill set. If you need someone to coordinate communications and logistics, you bring an expert in a particular area who understands health communication. If you need somebody to work with the international partners to mobilize the money and the resources, you bring someone who understands the international diplomacy in the space of mobilizing resources. And before you make up your mind, you have all your experts in the room. The person reporting on you with the money coming in, the person reporting with the cases in the field, all of that is coming in.
Okay, we are wrapping up here with this chapter here. When maybe 10 minutes time, we're going to be closing it. So, Professor Zaolo, from the Helen Johnson Sirleaf government to the George Weah government, Pat George and Leo, from time to time, I have repeatedly said this yet, the chain of communication, their way of getting information out is terrible. And that's one of the things and the government alluded to that. The promise that there will be some sort of correction is not there. I'm not sure how effective this Ministry of Information with Eugene Fagon, who is all over the place with facts and versus fiction, who should focus on government policies, how the government's message will get out there with out, I mean, from the domain of the government with the international community so that they will get a sort of attraction to get the kind of help? How can they contain those people when we have a group of, or we have a task force now, for example, if constituted, and we have every other day, Eugene Fagon coming up with facts and versus fiction, going after Henry Costa, going after Benana Ure, Alexander Kume, that would be a big distraction. Right, Professor?
It'll be a big distraction. So look, like I said, I have serious issue with tax force, but I know there will be one. And one of the most important position on that tax force will be the public relation person. How to communicate with the public. Maybe that's the time Eugene Fagon will show us his qualities. I think that would be a very important opportunity for us to have the facts and the fiction, so that our people can be very clear about what the risks.
You should be incorporated in the.
No, I'm saying maybe that would be an opportunity for him to do. I didn't suggest that he should be there. I said maybe a show, maybe a show.
Sharing that, how can you do that effectively?
You need non-political communication experts in this case. You don't need political mouthpiece of government or any other political agency.
The children, I'm not suggesting him to be there.
The children in Liberia, don't take Eugene Fagon serious. And you got this kind of critical issue. Is that the man you want to use as a face for communication?
You didn't get me right. I said maybe at this time his show could be very, very entertaining. It could be very instructive, because now he could be providing the facts and the fiction.
No, I said this situation. I was just wondering.
Yeah.
I said, well, Eugene Fagon sitting now in his room and blowing his hair. He's the one you want to make, just in case if there's any tax force. He's the one you want to make the face of the tax force. Really?
So, Pa Josh, you made it clear now. So the tax force is not the problem. It's the incompetent people that you put on the tax force that becomes the problem, because competence always shines through regardless of where you put them.
But that's what Professor Zawla myself saying.
Well, Leo, the problem is usually, and that's the thing we hope we will see this time. Yeah. Usually, the tax force will be politicized, like you said, and the people placed on the tax force will not be the best. And let's hope this time that we have a different experience.
I hate to do this. Yeah. Is it possible for the history to repeat itself what you did the last time around?
What?
By going in there to make a real intervention, you've been making a lot of good suggestions. It's your party. It's the people that you support. Are you willing, if you were called tonight and say, we are, or Kalasco, he's one of our regular followers, and say, oh, wait a minute. This is what Zawlo, we need to bring in Assise Zawlo to help in this entering, to take a hand on deck on this. Ebola, will you be willing to go?
Look, I did a lot of communication for the CDC, which responsible for a very long time for international communication for the CDC. But yes, I'll tell you, the party has a lot more qualified people in Liberia than me.
You know what? I
will not be called. Nobody's going to call me for that particular position. And if I'm called, I will feel honored. But I think there are a lot of people in Liberia.
I'm not surprised of his deflection in my question. Yeah. Quickly, in the last 10 minutes here, quickly, because today Saturday, I know people got to go. The guy is taking a tour around, right? After 3 years, he's taking a tour. Amos Joy, he was right in your own backyard. You got out of the news. Is this just another drive for 2023 to solidify his political grave? To say I'm still alive, I'm still well, even though I was smashed during the 27 the midterm, but it's not over here. I can make a big comeback. His tour right now, is he a political drive for 2023 by George?
Mr. So let me say this. I think I watched 3 minutes of the Deputy Press Secretary. 3 minutes, that's all. Mm-hmm. And I think he described the presidency as acquaintance, or no, what the term he used with the people. That's the term he used. But I'm saying, after 3 years of president, we have presidency, what is the dividend that the people can show for in Nima County, in Grand Gita, Maryland, Sano, Grand Crew, River says Basel. What are the differences they can show after the 3 years?
That's a rhetorical question. That
And
Leo,
the life today is a life better than before. So if they say, yeah, the life is better than today than before, then okay.
Leo, is that a valid question?
I would say it's a valid question. I don't think it is within context, if you ask me. I think it's a smart thing for President Weah to be touring the country. Unfortunately, it looks like this Ebola thing is going to cast a shadow over that. You have to realize this. At the end of the day, we all can criticize all of the shortcomings of the government, and there are many of them. If you want to go digging, you can find a lot of them. You don't even need to go digging. But I think at the same time, this wholesome statement that we make that the government has done nothing at all, I'm always careful.
I not done nothing.
No, there was a rhetorical question to say, is there anything that people can show? If you flip that question on his head. So I'm just saying to myself, I think what I saw in Bonkanto, in my opinion, was a smart, effective, productive organization. And what I'm saying is because it was an agricultural fair, right? That is a particular outcome. I've always said this to people. When the president, the commander-in-chief is going to go somewhere, you better be willing to tell us a particular tangible outcome for which you are bringing down the commander-in-chief. It can't just be he came, he visited, he spoke to the people saw him, and he walked away. So that event in Bon County that had the agriculture fair, it was strategic in my opinion. There was a particular outcome. It showcased a lot of local Liberian products. In fact, there was an award won by one, I think, a cassava farmer who has issues with a disability, who won a $10,000 prize to be infused into his business to show to other Liberians that there is direct benefit and seriousness when it comes to the issue of agriculture. So I would say to you, this is long.
Is that a strategic decision on the part of the president?
It's a win-win situation politically as well. Look, there is nothing the president does without politics being involved. It's a politician, number one. He wants to win the election in 2023. So you cannot take that away from it. But what I've always said is there are smart ways of having your political, dreams line up with productivity so that, yes, we know that you're doing it because you want political benefits, but clearly there's productivity to it. So what I would say to you, there's a whole lot, in my opinion, of our president, this should have been the fourth county tour and not the first one. So I think there was a serious mistake there. But I will tell you this today, I think President Weah is going to have a lot of realities to face as he's going through these counties to see them. And this is accountability. You have to answer. Has he done enough based on what he's seeing or not? I think that would be the reflection that you have to tell a Liberian boy and come out to Monrovia based on everything you saw. Do you think you've done enough in 3 years? So I'm excited that he's doing it so that nobody can say the president did not know that the role in SASTA was not good. No, the president will see it himself and he will know.
Yeah.
Professor?
Yeah, but let me firstly quickly assert here that the president's intention to visit the entire country is not anything new. The president hit the ground rolling, and his intention was to visit all of the counties, all of the political subdivisions within his first year of his presidency. The strangulating economic situation of the country served as an inhibitor to the effectuation of the visit. Then,
but the president still took the job. The president knew the economic struggle in the economic situation. He still took the job.
Flying the jet, got a private jet back.
You not have a full, you're not me. Don't let us get into politics. I think the outgoing government was deceptive in its presentation, in its transition document to this government.
So why are you guys not holding them accountable for the lies they told you guys?
Well, I think there's an asset recovery
yeah.
And they are vigorously pursuing those who defrauded Liberian people. As you know, quite recently there was a conviction.
The recovery team doesn't exist anymore, by the way. After Johnson left.
But so they exist. By the way, there was one conviction recently.
That's a political conviction.
I don't know about that. I trust the Liberian.
I can tell you.
I believe in Liberian Supreme Court, and I don't think it behooves well.
So how come Madam Sally is not in court when she the one who spearheaded the document I got?
She was in charge. Leo, you can recommend that to the government to have her charged, and then the government brings a case against her and brings his lawyers to defend the case, who
Okay.
knows? Who's convicted. But let me finish.
Professor,
Mr. So, let me finish.
yeah, 1 minute, please. You will carry on. Let me bring you the Liberty Party guy calling. I don't want him to say I sanction him. Let me just bring in this the Liberty Party USA based member. Hello, caller. What's your name and where you calling from?
Yeah, good afternoon, good evening. This is the Liberal Progressive. Are we still? Are you still on air? The professor have knocked you guys off the air with his defensive mode. I think I suggested that the last time that the closer we get to the 2023 election, the professor will soon be known as a defensive midfielder. For the CDC, because economic speculation. My goodness, Professor, you got to give us something better than that. But I think I'm enjoying you guys with the addition of Leo here tonight. It's very much interesting conversation, and let's see how far we're going to go. But I want to say thank you. I mean, I'm enjoying myself. Thank you.
Is this your comment? Because the professor is about to speak to that. The CDC government will politicize the entire process.
Yes.
That your comment? Which process would they politicize?
Now, if Ebola were to come to Liberia, definitely. And not only that, most of the things that they're going to do, because they will bring out people who are not experienced, and because people who are closer to the president, McGill going to point people out to be in lead.
Oh, hold on 1 second. I'm just getting a text from McGill here. You're going to be called in as one of the technical. Are you willing to go?
To do what? In the medical field, I'll be fooling myself. I'm an engineer. What am I going to do?
They are taking you to take a look at the road. And
yeah. In terms, definitely. If I'm asked to do my part, but I'm not going to fool myself to say I want to be on the. And that's exactly what they're going to do. They will take people, mishmash the opportunity to bring people like Ellen was doing from the beginning. That she was in charge. She has no medical degree, and you're going to be in charge of something as serious as Ebola. So and the sad thing here with this government, they are not experienced. Not only that, they don't have the discipline to be able to put themselves together to a point.
You see, specific
job. They're not going to do that. They will come in the fact that who know you business and bring people on that have no clue, and then the whole thing going to be in a mess.
All right. Okay, the Liberal Progressive. Thank you so much for chipping in here with us. Thank you so much.
Yeah, let me finish.
Professor, carry on.
Yeah. So what I would say was, the first order of business of the government was to regularize salary, and once the government regularized salary and the economic situation in the country had improved, the president had intended to go on a nationwide tour last year. It was supposed to start in Margibi. I remember I was in Liberia. I was being convinced by my people to remain there and go to Margibi, to attend to witness the tour. Then we had the gasoline shortage, and then the president had to postpone it. And then right after that, right within that time period, came the COVID-19. So it's not that the president had not planned to do this. Look, there's nothing. I understand what Leo is saying, that usually these things have a political undertone. But I'll tell you one thing: the president is not doing this out of any result as an aftermath of the just ended December 8th election. It has absolutely no connection with it.
Professor, please.
The president feels obligated to the people. He has done a wonderful job, and he'll be working across the country. And so,
I don't even think the president said we agree with you on that one. But anyway, go ahead.
The president will agree with him because he knows that he's done a wonderful job. And the people will be very.
Is it in Mosorado or Liberia you're talking about?
The president has done a wonderful job all across Liberia. The effect is being felt in every corner, every part of the length and breadth of Liberia. And the Liberian people will welcome the president to look. I think when people will be surprised. And I think Liberians in the United States should know it. You saw what happened in the United States election recently, where the citizens rejected Donald Trump, and then they voted for the Republican congressmen and senators. Expect to see something in Liberia.
But
Okay.
if it like that, would be the opposite.
Of course, that's what I'm saying. The
Then
president,
that means your party going to lose the election.
no, the president will win.
Oh,
The
I see.
president will might lose seats in the legislature because the president remains very powerful, very popular with his
You know,
Professor, I don't know why they put it. He's very popular with the people.
but even this is my whole problem, right? In Liberia, I think the CDC has continued down this trend of setting the wrong expectations for the Liberian people. We know the realities. Anybody who tell you say they can solve Liberia's problem with a budget of $570 million, you are a voodoo economist. It's not possible.
But who
500
problem?
I'm actually coming. That's what the president said. He will build roads. He said he will build the roads with that same budget. He said, so what I'm saying you, the proper agenda for development said 1 million people will be out of poverty.
Yeah.
And again, we're setting all these wrong. Look, nobody's saying, I don't think in the earnest the president trying his best, but the expectations that you set and the CDC continue to set is so high that even if the president works hard, it will look like he failed because you set this
The
great
government,
expectations.
Leo, the government, we have the data to show. We have the statistics to show.
Leo, you are touching Professor.
Okay, then let keep blowing your head. Since you people are doing the thing, just get the expectation for.
Government is not expectations. It's not expectation. It's delivery. The
Are 1
government-
million people out of poverty now?
Let me
We're gonna-
finish.
we're gonna-
Let me provide the data for you. This government is on pace to move more than 1 million people above the poverty line.
Okay.
In Liberia.
Yes.
Let's do it this way. Let's do it.
Within a 6-year period. We've gone this government has gone for 3 years. And we have moved, we have empowered a significant number of our people. And
Where is the data?
45 seconds. Let's do it this way. I
Give me a couple-
with us here this evening. I'm gonna give you guys quick. I think 1 minute is fair enough, right? One minute to make a closing argument. And at the end of that 1 minute, I want to see today is we're already dragging into Monday. It's Monday in Liberia now to Wednesday. What sort of conversation we're going to see relative to this Ebola thing here? Pa George, go ahead quickly.
No, I just want to say this. You know, CDC promised that at the end of the 6 year, 1 million people will be lifted above the poverty line. We gone 3 years. I have not seen the data to tell me half of that may be a quarter of 600,000 people. I have not seen that.
Taxes in Liberia.
Hold on, Professor Zhao has the
You pay
data.
taxes in Liberia.
Let him make his point.
No, I mean,
What's your question?
you pay taxes in Liberia.
I don't have a property in Liberia, so why should I pay taxes?
You're not on any obligation to show you the data.
No. But yeah, I pay taxes because when I do business in Liberia,
Okay,
but I
then-
also pay taxes. So
I just want
if-
to clarify that.
hold
I
on
just
now.
clarify that.
Hold on now. So
Make
hold
it-
on.
we are
If
running.
you're making that kind of remark that because I don't pay taxes, so I'm not entitled to information from Liberia, then I'm very surprised at you, Professor Zawu. I'm a Liberia citizen. I have a land there. Government
you-
use my property. People farm there.
Then you pay taxes.
So now let me tell you. So
Yeah.
but you saying that because no, you saying other was saying if nobody pay that this is the same remark that the tenant made that people in America should not say anything about Liberia because they don't pay taxes. Only people
yeah.
like who pay taxes should ask questions. And I'm saying,
Yes.
Professor, I will get a pushback from you.
Hello,
I don't expect that from you to ask me that question.
make your the guy is trying to the professor is trying to go under your skin and
No,
get
but he can't go on my skin. I got a test skin. I will just tell him what's on my mind. It's just me.
make your
No.
make final
But
argument.
this is the argument sedition makes. That when you ask a question, they say, "Oh, what you paying? You paying taxes? Are you paying taxes?" So because if I don't pay taxes directly or if I pay taxes indirectly, I should not ask the government when they make promises to us. I think it is my responsibility to ask the government.
All right.
The government came up to make this promise. 1 million people will be lifted out of poverty within 6 years. We're going 3 years. Oh, I'm asking. Well, you don't have to show them. Maybe you can show the deal to see the 600,000 people that have been lifted from this government policy. And since you've been a number man, you can show the number. So that the asking of people to
You
ask.
pay taxes.
Leo, why your final
I don't only pay taxes, I pay salaries of people
Okay.
in Liberia.
I'll
as well.
provide you the information. Lee.
Well, when he provided it, please help me.
Okay, fine, Josh, I'll send it to you when I get it.
go ahead, Leo.
Yeah, I just like to admonish everybody that our problem in Liberia has always been government. So it's impossible for government to be the solution. I will tell you that. The realities in Liberia is such that we continue to produce a society of bad people, and we wonder how come we are ending up with bad leaders. right? And I've said it, you can make the soup sweet when you're already done. Then you put in some raw salt and raw pepper inside. The only time you can make the soup delicious is the one that on the fire when you're boiling cooking. So we have an opportunity now with the generation of young people that are growing up to start to conduct ourselves properly. It doesn't matter if you're in government or not. It doesn't matter if you're a popular person or not. So that the next generation of people, we can hope that they will come up to be different. But instead, we are hell bent on saying, if the government does not go our way, the only solution is to just criticize and criticize. We all Liberians have a responsibility to do our part within our means. Lastly, I will urge my CDC brothers that are in government and sisters, stop setting unrealistic expectations. There is nothing wrong if the president say we will take 100 people out of poverty, but afterwards he should report that 500,000 people came out of poverty. In fact, you will wow people. But when you give people your best case scenario, and even you work hard and you want to do half of it, you failed. The proper document was written by this government. The things that you put inside there is gospel, will hold you liable to it if you do not accomplish it because you yourself came up with it. So even those who talk for the CDC and members of the CDC or spokespeople, I'm appealing to you. Lower the expectations a little bit because we all are aware of the realities in Liberia, but then do your best to over-deliver, under-promise and over-deliver. That's what smart governments do. That would be my only advice tonight. Thank you.
All right, Professor.
Well, thank you very much. First of all, let me just say thanks to my fellow panelists here today for the very spirited discussions we had. I think it was very instructive for me personally, and I hope it was instructive for the people out there. Look, when it comes to this government has done in Liberia what no other government has done. And I repeat, we have the data, we have the facts to show that we are on pace to building more roads than all previous government combined has built in Liberia. We are on pace of moving more Liberians above the poverty line than any other government has done. We had an ambitious plan. We are in delivery on our ambitious plan. We've hit some hurdles, objective hurdles, not based on our ineffectiveness, but challenges we face. Challenges we face, for example, in the COVID-19. Challenges we face with a deceptive predecessor that undermined our ability to do some of the things that we wanted to do. But yet, we've done several things. We've been able to enter a program with the World Bank, the IMF, that has seen Liberia receive flying colors when it comes to delivery in terms of the economics. I think you saw and you heard the report of the IMF, the World Bank recently on Liberia performance. So look, Liberia is moving forward. And I'm proud to be associated with President Weah, the CDC, and to be on the side of the forward marching people of Liberia. Our country will be better and we will take that lead. We are torchbearers, we are champions for our people, and we'll not fail them. Thank you very much.
Oh, wow. Leo, he sounds like Mitch McConnell, Donald Trump, Kamala Brown, but
Oh yeah.
But yeah, he was not convicted. However, other charges. That's what Asa says.
Professor Zalo is saying we're not paying taxes, so we're not getting right to ask for the data.
Yeah.
However, he's saying that they are, he's saying they have hit some hurdles.
Yes.
These are objective hurdles. I like the way he used the description on it. Very objective hurdles.
Those of you have the time, we're going to be back here. The video, there's a video that you are talking about relative. There's a guy posted a video who managed to get hold of it with Brandon Samuka. That you remember the Brandon Samuka scenario, his commitment with the understanding with the CDC-led government from cross-pollinating with Helen Johnson Sirleaf.
Yes.
The video is.
Professor Zalo said they were deceived.
They were not deceived.
We're going to dwell on it. We're going to listen to it. And who knows, there'll be more revelations.
CDC is deceiving on Leo. CDC is deceiving on. Then they want to ship it on Ellen. They are deceiving us. Then they want to ship it on Ellen.
I don't think Liberian people see it that way.
Well, okay.
And Liberian people are the arbiter in this whole thing. At the end of the day, the Liberian people re-elected we are for the 6-year term.
Yes.
Josh, don't worry. I will send you the data as soon as I get it. You'll take your time to go through the thing.
My man, I will be calling you every day. I will keep reminding you.
Then Leo have to pay double taxes. He keeps saying
no. You get the Leo.
We'll be charged for embezzlement, right? Giving people documents. Guys, we want to thank you so much for being here on this program. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Yeah.
He deserved the prison, not the prison. He deserved everything. The worshiping, oh, he gave me life. I will praise his name. I'm here to praise my God, oh, because he gave me life. Come celebrate, come jubilate, come and worship him. He deserves the praise.
Well, folks, that's how we're going to draw the curtain down here this evening. Our analysts, I contributed to some of our ladies who want to be a contributor on this network. Just let us know, and we're going to bring you in here as well. I want to thank all of you that are following us. If this is your first time, tuning in to Liberia Public Radio, go like our page, subscribe, get an alert. We have our YouTube channel. You can also subscribe. That way you can get an urgent alert when we are on. I am Afonso Z, and so to all of our online followers, your comments, your views expressed yet is just part of your passion for your country. And this is why we always like to maintain civil conversation here. We critique and we also put forward recommendation. It is within the purview of the government or stakeholders or actors to also accept what we say. But we all want to always remain in the context of having genuine, authentic conversation for the good of the country. Until then, I'm Afonso Z and Sort of the Liberia Public Radio and Lpr-Tv. I want to say thank you so much for hanging up with us this beautiful Sunday, Valentine Day. Hope you give somebody a rose. Hope you didn't tie your face. Hope you played nice and stuff like that, you know. But can women give men Valentine as well? My last name will put me down. Folks, that's how we're going to do it here this evening and bring the curtain down. Until then, I'm going to be back here Wednesday with more programming. Stay tuned on Liberia Public Radio. I am Afonso Z, so bye-bye.